Hey, so this is video 0.0.4, which is what do you need for calculus class this year? Where can you get that stuff? And then how are we going to take notes, which is still going to be an important part of class this year. Taking notes so we can refer back to stuff we learned. I'm going to share my screen. A very quick presentation on stuff. So, need a graphing calculator for sure. Didn't know I animated that. But you definitely need a graphing calculator. If you don't have one, I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you all the ways that you can get one. But if you already have one, then great. That's really the main supply we need. And then we definitely need a notebook or some way to take notes. I'm going to go over both just taking notes in a notebook and how I want that to look this year. Or if you want to go total 21st century paperless this year, I can show you the way you can do that as well. And then optional, if you want to have a folder or a binder, totally up to you. There's a lot of stuff that will be able to be printed this year if you have a printer and you want to do that, but that's optional. So just need a notebook or a way to take notes and a calculator. Now, if you already have one, great. You can move on to the next part of the video. If you don't have one, I'm going to show you all the ways that you can get one right now. So here are the ways that you can buy a calculator if you don't own a graphing calculator yet. All right, so there's a few ways. Walmart has all the ones we need. I want to be clear about the ones that I recommend, ones that I don't. So TI-84s are always really great. The TI-84 Plus are the most expensive, but they're in color too, and they're actually showing a pretty cool calculus feature right here. We're going to figure out how to find the area between two functions that intersect, which is pretty cool. And these show that off really well. So the TI-84 Plus CE, those are the best ones as far as the features you can buy, also the most expensive. So it kind of depends on what you're able and willing to spend. I've had students who have these Casios in the past. I'm not as familiar with them. They seem to have all the calculus features that you would want, but I have just found them to be a little less user-friendly. And that's just, I use TI-83s and 84s more frequently. So maybe the Casios are equally great. I just don't have the same experience with them. So this is an option, but I definitely recommend more of the 84s and 83s, mainly because I'm more familiar with them. And then also all of like the video how-tos on special calculus mechanics using your calculator usually use 83s and 84s. So up to you about what you want to do there. And then the ones down below, can't really, these oh, that's the same one as before. So yeah, the Casio, fine. The 84s, 83s are definitely my highest recommendations. You can get them at Walmart. You also get them at Target. It has all of the options at Walmart and at Target. Now, I want to be clear about stuff we can't use this year. So Walgreens and CVS, I looked just online. They don't seem to have the ones that could work for calculus class. So these right here, the TI-30s, they're great if you have a brother or sister or cousin who's in 9th grade or 10th grade and just need it for algebra. But for calculus, these don't have any graphing features. So if you have those right now, I don't throw it away. It's still a great calculator, but we need a graphing tool for this year. So Walgreens, CVS, I found the same. Like here's a Casio, but it's not a graphing one. So make sure if you're going to go the Casio route, you actually buy a graphing calculator. Now, Amazon also has all of these. So if you don't want to go through the hassle of going to a store, you can order off of Amazon. So it's up to you. Amazon has all the ones we're looking for. So it has 83s. 89s I don't have a lot of familiarity with, and they used to be not allowed, I think, on AP tests, so I wouldn't recommend that. And again, it's just because I'm not as familiar with them. But Casio is fine. Again, I'm less familiar, but they're a little bit cheaper. The 83s are my favorite, and then also if I can find an example of an 84, not fine because I can search for 83s here, but 83s, 84s are both great. I also, if you're looking for a much cheaper option, I found a lot on eBay that were, under 10, 20 bucks. Now that means they're all pre-owned. So if that is not what you want, if you want a new one, then eBay is probably not your best bet. But I did find a lot of cheaper ones on eBay. And as always, check the user rating for the product to make sure you'll get a good one. But that's another option as well. And then here's a special one where I tried to look for emulators online for free, and the one that I actually have is called Wabbit EMU, and they say they have downloadable apps for both iOS and Android users. So I actually have an Android, so I'm going to, if I can. So I'm not sure how well you can see this, but It's this like little like funny rabbit guy right there with the calculator. And then if you actually pull it up, it's a full-on TI-84 interface. So that's really great. So if you have an Android, I know you can download that from the App Store. I think if you have an Apple product, you can still download it as well. So that's another option for a graphing calculator. So all the ways you can get a graphing calculator, I just walked through. The last one, if none of those appeal to you, or the last two, you can email me. We have them at school, and we're trying to think of plans to pass them out. So that's another option as well. If that interests you, just shoot me an email. The reason I'm recommending you just have your own is one for health reasons. You don't have to like bother cleaning the school's ones, although we will clean them for you. And then you get to keep it forever, which is nice as well. But if you want to go the school route and borrow one from school for the year, just email me and we can try to work that out. The last option I have is Desmos. So this is actually a really great free online tool. If you go to their website and then just click on the graphing calculator tool, it does everything we're going to need it to do for a calculus class. So I'll have to go through this more before, but if I wanted to graph a function, it's really good with function notation, which we'll use a lot in calculus. I also could have just done y equals. What's cool is if it's the same function, it'll show you like one on top of another. We could also get into g of x, just some rational functions, which we'll need to graph a lot this year too. I'll say, yeah. So it does a really good job of graphing. Zoom out some, graphing rational functions. If there's too much on the screen, you can just click right here and it all goes away. That's another cool feature as well. And then we'll get into some discontinuities this year. I'm just gonna copy and paste this and put it right here. So we'll actually get to see functions. It's weird that this right here, the purple, looks like this crazy rational function, yet this looks like a line. We'll talk about why that is this year, which is pretty cool. And then what's great about this is it actually, yeah, it has all of these miscellaneous features. So it has all the features you want for a regular calculator. And then in functions right here, it has all of the trig and the inverse trig functions. And then it also has all of these calculus features like the integration feature, the derivative. So if I actually said derivative of g of x, it actually builds an entire derivative function, which you don't know what that means yet, but it's pretty cool. And it also has really great notation. What I just wrote down as well is another way of saying the derivative, which just means the slope of a function. So it actually does a really good job of giving us easy ways to apply calculus language. And then we could even go one step further here because it's cool. What I just wrote down, g prime of 3, is actually saying what's the slope of this function right where x equals 3, which is going to be a big part of our first unit. So yeah, I don't know why not. Yeah, I just drew a tangent line right there. So you're getting like a little intro in the calculus right now. But Desmos is really great. So you also have that option all throughout the school year. So that's up to you. Stop share for a second. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is just how do we take notes. And so I'll give you a little mini example right now. So you can do it in your notebook. I'm actually going to walk through a video and like there's a certain template I want you to find, or you can do it using Google Docs. So follow me along. If you're here, it means you found this, this mastery checklist in your student folder. So here's how you could take notes totally paperless this year. And the way I'm going to know you watched this video is if I see this in your student folder. So you'll go into your student folder and you'll see your name and a bunch of other of your classmates' names. What I want you to do is click onto my folder. You should have access to, should be a view only. And then right here where it says Khan Academy and other calculus resources notes template, I want you to click on it and then right click and then just make a copy. Because once you've made that copy, you can actually drag it into your own folder. So with this, what I'm going to do is just drag it back into folders. And now what I want you to do is drag it into your own folder. So I'll drag it into Abigail's folder because it's right up here up top. So I'll drag it into that folder. That's how I'll know that you watched this video. And then once you have that, what you can do is this. You can just rename it. So I'll rename this, 0.04 example notes just for fun. And then what's great is when you click into this, I've built you a template to take notes on really easily. And so you can click open with Google Docs. And now you have this great template that you can use all year long to take notes with. And then you can work to organize it just completely online in your Google Drive, which might save you the need to like use paper and pencil. So it's totally up to you. And then I'm gonna pause real quick to, let's do this. As an example of how notes could look, I'm gonna imagine that, oh, my computer's kind of freezing. That's not at all where I wanna be. Give me 1 second, y'all. All right, I'm back. So let's imagine that I'm taking notes on a certain video. We're back to this like document we saw before. Let's imagine that you're starting with some of your first like actual summer homework. Let's say we're starting with this one. It's titled Intro to Rational Exponents. So if you want to take notes completely online, looks like it's objective 0.1.2. And it's unit 0, which is calculus prerequisites. Today's date is whatever the date is that you're working on. It's going to be a video. So what I did right here is you can insert like little special characters to say, like, yep, what you're working on. And I just search like the check mark. You can do that any way you want. So it tells you, okay, this is a video that I watched. You can put your name up here if you want to, the class period, all that stuff. And then the title of that video was Intro to Rational Exponents. And the source is Khan Academy. So just whatever resource tool you used. So now you just have space to take notes on. And I'm actually going to pause the video now and watch it myself and then add notes to show you what I would have as notes for this video. All right, so I watched the video and I took some notes both on paper and on this Google Doc. I'm going to show you how taking your notes on a Google Doc can be a really good way to take notes this year. And it's even possible to write very precise math language. So I'll show you both options. Probably running short on my 10-minute time, so hopefully I get it under. So big thing I want to encourage you all is to use this math facts. You've probably heard them called key points or important information or like summary. Math facts to me just means like the most important math key points from the video you just watched, like facts you want to hold on to, facts that teach us rules about math language, probably the best way to put it. Things that teach us rules about math language. So the positive exponent tells us how many times the base gets multiplied. You all know that. Negative exponents result in the positive power reciprocal. One key point I thought he could have hit better, and it's going to happen in a different video, is that fractional exponents follow this rule. Or if I have 5, which is just a number I made up for the base, 5 raised to the a over b power, so you can imagine like 5 to the 2/3 power, follows the rule that if I want to write that as a square root, then the numerator is what's going to raise the base inside of the square root symbol, and the denominator is going to be what's outside of that power. So I'm going to give you a few examples on that to show you, but that's, whenever you're taking notes on videos, that's the stuff that actually matters the most. Like just copying down what the video has written isn't that powerful. Reflecting on like what were the math language rules I just learned, that's where like the real learning happens. Like make sure these are good. But a few things I wrote down that he wrote down, I just want to show you how you can manipulate math language even in Google Docs. So right here, if you hit insert, you have this equation feature and you can write any equation down. So he had an x4 to the 1/2 power, which I can write pretty easily. It's equal to, now if I want to write square root, I can just come right here. You have all of these equation features, so I'm back in here. You got to be in the equation part, but you have options to all these like little quick equations. And so I'll just put this square root, so square root of 4 is equal to 2. One key point that I want to make that he didn't make as well as I had hoped, and again, he'll do so in different videos, is that if I actually wanted to write this a little more accurately, following this, 4 to the a over b system, what this is really saying, I'm going to take this up perfect. What 4 to the 1/2 is really saying is, okay, let's raise 4 to the first power inside. And then any square root you've ever seen has like a little base power outside. We usually don't write it because a square root implies the second root. But I could have written the square root of 4 as the square root of 4 to the first with a little 2 on the outside, and that's mathematically equivalent language. I can do this again for What's cool about Google Docs is now I can just copy and paste a lot of my work. So the next one was like 9 to the 1/2 power. Square root of 9 is the same thing as the square root of 9 to the first, with a little 2 on the outside. We all know that that is 3. And then, yeah, I'll give you one example that he didn't give. His next one was 8 to the 1/3. Actually, I will do that. And again, this is a power of writing online, is now I can do a lot of copy and pasting, and it can save me time. I'm going to let this be your all's preference for the year. It really will be, whatever you feel most comfortable with, but I'm just going to show you all 2 ways you can do it. You'll see this most often. If I'm going to write the cube root of 8, it's just like the square root symbol of 8 with a little 3 on the outside. And I also could have written that, Control Z is definitely your friend when trying to type online. I could have written that equivalently. Copy and paste this part as 8 raised to the first power into that cube root symbol. That's all mathematically equivalent language, and it's asking what number times itself 3 times equals 8. We know that that's 2. It's 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8. And that's what fractional roots are asking, is to find the base number, the original number, that would result in this end value. And then one thing he didn't show, but I think is a cool one, just to really exemplify these math key points. Don't know what I just did. Yeah, don't want to do that again. Let's say we had 8 to the 2/3 power. The way I'd write that would be 8, that value squared, and then with that 3 to indicate that it's to the 3rd root. So what that would really be saying is 8 squared, which is 64. And then it's asking the question, what number times itself 3 times equals 64? That would be 4. So if you've ever typed into your calculator 8 to the 2/3 and gotten 4, that's why. It's saying what value squared and then the cube root of that. Better way to phrase it, what value, if you times it by itself 3 times and then took the square root, would result in 8, and that number is 4. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but I also did the exact same thing, just pencil and paper. So I wrote the same header with the title, the date, the objective number. I got it from Khan Academy, and all those same math facts there, and all those same stuff I just typed in, I wrote it here as well. Let's stop sharing my screen. So I'm trying to show you 2 ways to take notes. I'm going to be clear that taking notes is not optional. You'll have to do it for everything we do this year. There will be times where I'll ask you to take a picture and submit your stuff, or check your folder to see if you're taking good Google Doc notes. So if you plan to skip it, change your mind. Notes are going to be a big part of this year. If you have more questions, just let me know.